1960s, a decade of cultural upheaval, revolution, and experimentation. New bands with young musicians and provocative ideas dominated the era and resonated with the young counterculture of that time. One of the most well-known and celebrated bands of that time were the Beatles. Starting in 1960 in Liverpool, they quickly skyrocketed to the top of the world. John, Paul, George, and Ringo became household names across the whole world. But at the start, there was one member, one who was perhaps forgotten in the winds of time. But his early work was instrumental to the success of the band. Carl Wheezer, born in Sheffield in 1941, showed, from an early age, exceptional musical talent.
You know, he was one of a kind, incredibly gifted and talented. He basically pulled the strings for us at the beginning.
Young Carl moved to Liverpool in 1958, where he met the future band members of the Beatles. John and Paul were impressed by his guitar and songwriting skills, and soon Carl became a standing member of the group. In 1960, he wrote the hit song Twist and Shout, which became a huge success for the band later on. 2 years later, in 1962, he wrote with McCartney the most well-known and celebrated song titled Love Me Do. But it soon began to crumble all down for Carl. At the request of a friend, he tried cocaine for the first time, citing that it transformed him into a tiger. His obsession with the drug began quickly to show, and Carl skipped rehearsals and recording dates.
Here, what's this? I have to share a blooming dressing room with you two blokes? No. Please refer all inquiries to me image consultant.
His behavior became increasingly aggressive with random bouts of paranoia. On a winter morning in January 1963, the other band members agreed that Carl was no longer a stable and reliable member. Thus, they dismissed him.
And what would you say about the early days of the Beatles and the involvement of Carl Wheezer?
I mean, he was good, young and bright, and with a dedication to music. He wrote some of our first songs, which later became hit singles, so in a way he was important to us.
After the dismissal by the other members, Carl faced increasing financial trouble. It was even rumoured that he took a loan from the Cray twins, which he couldn't repay.
You little cunt thought that you could cheat us, right?
I don't know! I know but the money and the picture and the slap.
Should have thought about it earlier.
And then, in May 1968, a call which shook the world. In the early morning on May 25th, police received a call from a concerned woman who warned about a homeless person lying lifeless in the streets. Police forensics showed that Carl died from an induced heroin overdose, injected directly into the scrotum. After the news of Carl's death reached his former band members, Abbey Road Studios issued a press statement.
Carl was much more than a great bass player and a musical genius. He was a friend who you could always rely on, a friend who would listen to your sorrows and perhaps offer you words of comfort, and a friend who cared. Today, we didn't just lose Carl Wheezer. We lost a poet, a writer, and perhaps a Beatle.
Goodbye, Normandy. Go on, never knew you were all you had the grace to hold yourself, but those around you clawed. They crawled out of the woodwork and they whispered into your brain. They set you on the treadmill and they made you change and vain. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind.